James Klein had previously shot at law enforcement in the state of Minnesota. He was out pending trial when this incident in 2021 took place here in Utah. A desolate stretch of I-15 in Juab County.
We relive this every day.
He's taking your car.
It's something that plays through my mind every time I drive through there. This is probably the closest I've ever come to not making it home to my family at the end of the day.
It's May 19th, 2021.
There is always that worry as you're walking up on a car.
Trooper Dustin Griffiths pulled up to assist Juab County Sheriff's deputies with a routine traffic stop.
I saw one of the officers in the car. I gave him a thumbs up. He gave me a so-so sign. I was like, oh, maybe they have something here. I'll be here with them.
Here's the perspective from Trooper Griffiths' body camera while at the car in question.
A little better down in Vegas. It's a long drive just to hope for a little luck, huh?
The driver of the car had already been put into the Juab County Sheriff's vehicle. Deputies removed the female passenger as they searched the car.
That's definitely not her. Not even.
The driver, James Klein, was in the front seat of the Juab County patrol car without handcuffs.
Stay there. Hey, he's taking your car. Oh. In my head, I'm like, did that just happen? I'm like, yep, it did. Let's go.
Trooper Griffiths, who had only been on the road as a trooper for about 2 years or so, initiated the pursuit.
He has stolen the K9's vehicle. He is in a police vehicle. We are 202 northbound.
With the K9 in tow, veteran UHP trooper Jeff Blankenagel was just seconds behind.
I've had a pretty storied career. That was definitely the wildest event I've been in.
The pursuit only lasted a minute. Klein drove off the road and high-centered the patrol car.
He's got a gun. Got behind my patrol car for cover. That's when I heard the first pop go off. He's got his rifle. Comes out with the rifle and starts cracking rounds off right away.
A lot of chaos.
Shots fired!
A feeling of helplessness. As other people ventured into the scene, and just not having the power or the capabilities to prevent bad things from happening.
Affirm he's attempting to steal someone's vehicle. Go, 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 go! We were yelling at them, trying to get their attention to get them to drive away because they roll up on a situation, they don't know what's going on.
The suspect, James Klein, armed with a Juab County Sheriff's Office rifle, tried to carjack a couple who drove by.
He was firing at that civilian vehicle. They're stopped. I don't know if they're hit or not.
The vehicle somehow drove away. Klein took cover. But the gunfire continued.
He's right there! Careful!
Klein made his way to an underground culvert.
Suspect was wearing a dark blue or gray shirt.
After an hour or so, officers located K9 Thor unharmed in the Juab County vehicle. Klein was located in the Sevier River, laying on top of the loaded stolen rifle used to shoot at officers. Inside Klein's vehicle, more than 9 pounds of meth and a handgun.
There is a lot of PTSD that comes with it.
For the UHP troopers who did everything they could to try and keep the public safe that day, they were most concerned about fellow officers in harm's way.
We've got to make sure we get each other home at the end of the day.
And members of the public.
We had several guardian angels with us that night.
That couple is the one in the vehicle shot at by Klein. The husband injured, the wife nearly killed. Tomorrow night at 10, hear their story, why they say this should never have happened, and how this day changed their lives forever. It's tomorrow night only on 2 News. Brian Schnee, KUTV 2 News. Connie and Larry Stagg were stopped at Yuba State Park that day with their 2 dogs before heading north to visit family. It's a stop they regularly made on their road trip. They shared with me how they came across a man with a gun who they thought was a member of the Juab County Sheriff's Office. As UHP troopers Dustin Griffiths and Jeff Blankenagel exchanged gunfire with James Klein, Connie and Larry Stagg were driving back to the freeway to continue their road trip.
Affirm he's attempting to steal someone's vehicle. Go, 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 go!
I rolled the window down to ask him what was going on, and all I seen was a gun barrel come through the window. I knew he wasn't a cop.
James Klein, who minutes earlier stole a Juab County Sheriff's vehicle using a Sheriff's Office rifle to try and carjack Connie and Larry Stagg's SUV.
The gun barrel was pointed at my head, and he didn't like that, so he pushed the gun barrel away from my head, and that's when the first shot went off.
Klein shot the dashboard and disabled the vehicle.
I just thought it was somebody playing a prank.
The Stags, emotional from the day more than 2 years ago.
At that point in time, OnStar came on and said, you know, I see you've been in an accident. Do you need an ambulance? And of course I told her, I said, I haven't been in an accident. Somebody just shot at our car.
Connie says with the car disabled, the doors unlocked. Klein opened the back door and tried to get into the car.
Time he opened up the back door again, and that's when I felt that he shot me. I didn't know for sure. I said, I think that son of a bitch just shot me. And he was still shooting.
After a few minutes, Connie was able to start the car again and slowly drive away while Klein kept shooting at the car before taking cover behind the sheriff's vehicle.
I pulled over and I backed up as close to that semi as I could. And we sat there, and Larry says, at that point in time, he says, I think I've been shot.
Larry was shot in the leg. Another bullet went through the back of Connie's headrest.
Came real close.
They left the scene more than 2 years ago, but still, Larry and Connie are wondering, how did this even happen?
Here's a car, here's a set of wheels and a weapon. Go ahead and take it. I mean, to me, it was an invite.
I think they need to take a look at how they handle people.
The Stags in disbelief. According to police records, James Klein was put into the front passenger seat of the patrol car and was left there without handcuffs, while deputies went back to his vehicle to question the passenger and search the car.
He should have been cuffed. He should have been anything but just sit down in a car.
The Stags say they have a lot of family who still work in law enforcement, but this incident has had a lasting impact on their lives.
I'm the type of person that I want to see the good in everybody. Yeah, it's changed.
After multiple surgeries and a month in the hospital, Larry, now with a piece of his leg missing, suffered permanent damage from the shooting.
How did this day change your life?
For a while afterwards, I had a real hard time just walking the dogs. When a car would go by slow, or he'd go by slow and stop, just in my neighborhood, okay? I'm thinking to myself, okay, what house can I run into? What house can I go knock and feel safe? And we had several guardian angels with us that night.
Was ultimately a mistake made?
I don't believe a mistake was made.
The Stags haven't been on a road trip since. Larry, with a piece of his leg missing, can't sit in a car for extended periods of time. Coming up tomorrow at 6 o'clock, I talked to Juab County Sheriff Doug Anderson and asked him why the suspect was put in the front of a patrol car without handcuffs, then left alone. Plus, the answer to that question you just heard. Why Sheriff Anderson says his officers didn't make a mistake. That's tomorrow night, right here at 6 o'clock. Brian Schnee, KUTV2 News. James Klein was removed from his car during the traffic stop on I-15. He was placed into the Juab County vehicle in the front seat without any handcuffs. Then he was left alone. He stole the vehicle and used the rifle to shoot at responding officers and a couple driving nearby. So why was Klein not in handcuffs? Why was he able to access the rifle so easily? And was a mistake made here? I took those questions to the Juab County Sheriff.
Shots fired!
A shootout between an armed suspect with two UHP troopers trying to put an end to the violent and dangerous situation.
We got cars coming up.
Yeah.
Innocent drivers caught in the crossfire.
We just slowed down to get onto the exit. We couldn't see anything going on. But at that time, a gentleman exited the sheriff's vehicle and started up the hill towards us.
Here's dash cam video from the stolen Juab County vehicle. James Klein, armed with a Juab County rifle, making his way to the car that pulls up.
Affirm he's attempting to steal someone's vehicle. Go, 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 go!
Connie and Larry Stagg were in the car. Klein had them at gunpoint.
The gun was pointing to her head. I grabbed the gun barrel and shoved it.
Their lives on the line.
Just to clarify, I think it's pretty evident this could have been avoided from the beginning, correct?
Yes.
Stay there. Hey, he's taking your car. Hold it.
Juab County Sheriff Doug Anderson answering our questions about how this happened in the first place.
Why wasn't James Klein in handcuffs at the time of him being detained from the vehicle?
All police officers have, in those types of contacts have got a lot of things to think about. There's legalities, vehicle positioning. You want to make sure it's a safe stop. You got to protect yourself. You got to protect everybody at the scene.
How was Mr. Klein able to access the weapon that day?
There's a locking mechanism in the patrol cars that secures the weapon.
It holds the gun in place, but doesn't require a key to access.
You merely hit that switch, and it accesses the firearm in that vertical locking mechanism.
Was ultimately a mistake made?
I don't believe a mistake was made. I'm not going to say we made a mistake. I'm going to say that we may have lost perception of all the risks involved.
Is there anything else you feel you can do today or in the future to prevent something like that from happening as it pertains to how things are handled on the roadside?
Reinforcement of our situational awareness.
They put him in the car without cuffs, with the loaded weapon. Here's a free ride, feller, take it.
Sheriff Anderson told 2 News that deputies were on administrative leave per standard protocol during the investigation. What happened that day, they were later put back on patrol duties. Today, neither officer works for the Juab County Sheriff's Office. Both work for a neighboring agency. Sheriff Anderson told me stemming from that day, quote, counsel was extended to effect some changes, and they've been focusing on training reinforcement. As for James Klein, he was sentenced this summer to 25 years in federal prison. Brian Schnee, KUTV2 News. It all stems from the traffic stop on I-15 where the suspect, James Klein, was put into a patrol car without restraint and in the front seat. From there, he steals the patrol car.
Stay there. Hey, he's taking your car.
If he were handcuffed, obviously, the way it panned out, it wouldn't have happened. But you got to make sure you can handcuff someone legally.
This 2021 dash cam video shows James Klein being brought to the front seat of a Juab County Sheriff's vehicle. He was not handcuffed and was left alone in the car before he stole it and accessed the rifle.
I had a rifle in my patrol car. You have a computer with access to a bunch of information. There's just stuff you don't want to miss. You don't really know that person.
Matt Evans, who worked in law enforcement for 20 years, 6 of which involved traffic stops. We showed him some of the video of Klein's traffic stop, including him being put in the front seat without restraint.
I've never heard of something like that. And generally, if you're investigating a person, you just wouldn't do that. I would put him in the back seat where it's safe and say, hey, we're just going to hang you here. And you could leave the door open because, again, there might be weighing some sort of a Miranda issue in custody versus out of custody, and that may have gone into this whole thing, who knows? But that's just not the spot to put somebody.
He is in a police vehicle.
Still that suspect's decisions that he kept making, right? And I know that we as a society, we want to focus on both things. Could it have been prevented? Yes. And should it have been? Yes. And I guarantee there's nothing, I bet there's more in policy that says don't do things like that than there is that says, hey, be nice to people and just let them have access to everything.
Evans also noted how Klein was able to gain access to the rifle inside of the car. If you've missed our prior reporting on this, we've shared 3 other pieces. You can find them at KUTV.com. Brian Schnee, KUTV2 News. James Klein wasn't supposed to be traveling through Utah at all in 2021. Court documents show he violated conditions of his bail, which was from another shooting in 2020 in Minnesota, where Klein also shot at police.
Hey, he's taking your car. He's got a gun.
This 2021 incident in Utah.
Get down on the ground right now!
And this 2020 incident in Minnesota involved the same suspect, James Klein, who would steal the Juab County Sheriff's vehicle during a traffic stop on I-15, and mayhem ensued from there. Klein was unhandcuffed in the front seat of the vehicle and left alone. Deputies on scene didn't know Klein had been involved in a shooting in Minnesota just 1 year prior and posted bail.
Without being there, it's hard to say, yeah, should have done this or should have done this. You know, for us, the bigger question is, why was he out of jail in Minnesota? That's the bigger question.
A question I took to the Hennepin County District Attorney's Office in Minnesota, who declined an interview due to 2 pending cases in the county. They told me, quote, the Minnesota Constitution guarantees all defendants a right to bail while a case is pending.
Had they kept him in up there for shooting at cops in Minnesota, we wouldn't have been here in Utah to do any of that.
Klein was out on bail under the conditions to remain law-abiding, follow all probation instructions, and to not leave the state of Minnesota without written court approval.
When we let people like that out, this is what happens. And as long as that continues, there will be more of this.
Video of the shooting in Minnesota was first obtained by Midwest Safety on YouTube. They shared it with us here at KUTV2 News, while our Minnesota data requests are still in process. Klein is in federal prison on a 25-year sentence for those crimes in Utah. He has another hearing in Hennepin County, Minnesota, scheduled for February regarding that 2020 shooting, where he faces 2 more felony charges. Brian Schnee, KUTV2 News.